Hello, Google Mongolia is reporting live from the State Palace at the Mongolian Economic Forum 2016. This is the second day and we're here with Ms. Beate Trankmann, UNDP representative, UN coordinator. Thank you for accepting our invitation.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, I heard this is your first time in Mongolia Economic Forum. How do you see this event?
Sure. I've been here actually for 7 months now in Mongolia. Started my assignment in August 2015. I've spent 17, 18 years in the Asia-Pacific region. So indeed my first time was the Mongolia Economic Forum. I think it's a very worthwhile event because it brings together a lot of people from different walks of societies, obviously decision makers at the highest political level with the president, the prime minister and the speaker, but also Mongolian politicians, business people, civil society, renowned academics like Daniel Kaufmann to basically discuss the key development issues and business challenges and opportunities facing Mongolia, and looking at, to put it with the motto of the forum, at the lessons learned, the challenges and the opportunities moving forward to find solutions for Mongolia to continue to prosper. So I think it's a very good event. I'm very happy to be here.
You were also at the yesterday's first day event. And can you tell us more about it?
Well, yesterday I was part of a panel that looked at development financing in general and the future of development financing and how that is impacting also Mongolia. Mongolia has moved, of course, to upper middle income country status in 2015, and that means that even though ODA, official development assistance, is still relatively high, it will in the near future or in the future decrease because usually development partners, once a country exceeds to this type of status, they reorient their resources towards lesser developed countries, assuming that countries in the upper middle income status can actually finance their own development. And so we were discussing this and the implications it also has for the Sustainable Development Goals, the new global agenda for people and planet that has been approved by world leaders, including President Al-Baghdad in New York at the General Assembly in September 2015. And I think what there is to say about that particular topic is that it's for broad agendas like the Sustainable Development Goals, which will define development in the next 15 years, is very important to build broad-based platforms to bring everyone in. This is not a government-only agenda. It has very ambitious goals about reducing inequality, eliminating poverty, and protecting the planet from irreversible changes of climate or climate change. So how to finance those ambitious goals? The answer is basically you need a broad-based coalition of everyone: public finance, private finance, domestic finance, international finance, and very important also to bring private sector in and create the conditions for private sector to be able to participate in financing the agenda.
Can you tell us more about the Sustainable Development Goals in Mongolia?
Sure. The Sustainable Development Goals, as I said, is the global agenda for people and planet for the next 15 years. It's replacing or taking forward, rather, the Millennium Development Goals. It puts sustainability at the core, realizing that we won't, as a planet, as countries, develop further if we continue to destroy the environment and if we are subject to irreversible effects of climate change. It talks a lot about reducing inequality, because even if you develop and the rich are getting richer and the poor are getting poorer, you're not reducing poverty. And it talks a lot about the importance of robust governance systems to make development more accountable, more participatory. In the case of Mongolia, we as the United Nations were very happy to see Mongolia adopting the 17 SDGs very early on with the approval of the recent approval of Mongolia's long-term sustainable development strategy for 2030. It encompasses a lot of the goals. The next step for Mongolia will now be to translate this broad vision, which is in line with the Sustainable Development Goals and the spirit, to translate that into concrete plans and policies and budgets. And I think as the United Nations, as UNDP, we will focus a lot on that aspect, building a broad platform that can bring all the different partners together. As I said, this is an agenda that needs everyone, because it also talks a lot about the behavioral changes that are needed in consumption patterns, in production patterns. So citizens, private sector are very important. Government is very important to make sure that resources are put behind these broad objectives. So we will support the government of Mongolia in the policy analysis that is needed to make sure that the budget aligns with these broad ambitions, and we will build platforms to bring everyone together. One first step that we are planning to work on is a development finance assessment to look at all the various revenue streams for Mongolia and look at what is going in and how is it being budgeted and what can be optimized to really put resources behind the key objectives of Mongolia's own national development vision for 2030, but also the SDGs.
Last year, I think it was last year, September, the UN General Assembly met and over 190 countries attended the meeting and decided to implement the Sustainable Development Goal to 2030. And Mongolian president was initiated a plan to implement the program as soon as possible in Mongolia. And speaking of the budget, how do you finance these big projects or 17 SDGs? Are you working with other international or national companies or organizations?
Sure. As I was saying in my session yesterday, if you look at globally, right, the estimates are that there is at least a $2 trillion funding gap per year that countries need to find to implement the Sustainable Development Goals. The Addis Ababa conference on financing for development last year, which preceded the summit in New York, the Sustainable Development Summit in New York that led to the adoption of the goals, recommended that a lot of it is about leveraging also domestic resources and making smarter use of domestic resources. So part of it is, capacitating countries to raise tax revenues, right? But part of it is also about how you target national resources, right? And make sure that they are spent on pro-poor, pro-environment objectives, that you abolish non-productive subsidies that don't support these type of pro-poor, pro-environment programs. I'm thinking of fuel subsidies, right, or coal subsidies, things like that. A lot of countries have that, right? Part of it is about bringing more private sector in. It's very clear that about 80% of that sort of $3.5 to $4.3 trillion agenda per annum globally will have to be financed from private sector. And so it's a question of how do you put more private sector behind sustainable development objectives? How do you create the conditions for private sector, for example, to invest in the energy transformation into renewable green energy? How do you provide incentives, tax breaks, but how do you, for example, also make sure that you have tariffs for green energy so that return on investment is secured for private sector investments.
Thank you for your time and accepting the invitation. And this was Ms. Beate Trankmann from UN and UNDP. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.